Sam's like, oh no, like we're just here to watch, and everyone reacts godly to that statement, but no one asked them to leave. We've created a safeguarding issue.
Yeah.
Venue that's mostly children.
I was gonna say, oh, the employee has her customer service face on, but you should have asked him to leave because that is so creepy.
That was definitely one of those customer service moments where you're just like, I give up. I'm not going to bother with this. If this dude wants to hang out, that's fine. They don't pay me enough.
Should I call the cops or should I just leave?
My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our Supernatural opinions.
Today I'm being joined by my guests, Meredith, Jordan, and Jeremy. Meredith, remind everyone who you are.
My name is Meredith. My pronouns are she and her, and I haven't had to think about a lot of this research stuff since, second year of university.
It probably came in handy this week.
It did. It's always fun when I can do a lot of the research stuff from memory. I don't have to read as much.
And Jordan, it's been a while since you were here, so remind everyone who you are.
Hi, I'm Jordan, and I was at Psychic Chick 21 on TikTok, but you can't find me really anywhere. Sorry.
That's fine.
You can be a cryptid.
Yeah.
People can find you here. If you have things you want Jordan to know, just send them to us and I'll pass the message on. And Jeremy, I'm sure people know who you are, but remind them anyways.
I'm Jeremy. I go by he, him. I'm a co-host of Monster of the Week, which is another Supernatural podcast. And I love talking about Supernatural so much that I can't stop podcasting about it. So just...
it is a problem.
Once you start talking about it, you're like, wait, I need to stop to discuss this episode twice on 2 different podcasts, please.
There's a lot to unpack with this show.
This is actually my second time podcasting about this episode as well. If you want more coverage of this episode, you can go listen to me talking about it on Driver Fix the Podcast. It was my first time talking with Beth and Jamie literally ever, and now Beth and I are co-hosts on our Winchesters podcast, Wayward Parents. So, good times.
Good times.
But this week we're recapping Season 3, Episode 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas, which originally aired on December 13th, 2007. And this title is a reference to the fact that it's Christmas, but make it supernatural. So there's a monster eating people, and it's also horribly sad and upsetting, and John Winchester is a terrible parent.
What else is new?
Really. This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode, may reference previous episodes, but will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural, except for one very brief thing that I'm going to allude to.
Ooh.
Exciting.
And I wish I didn't have to allude to it. This episode was written by Jeremy Carver and directed by J. Miller Tobin. Jeremy Carver's second episode, the first one was 304 Sin City, which we weren't super big fans of. I think this episode makes up for that. This one's pretty good. He's also the executive producer and executive story editor for this season and season 4, so he's very involved in the overarching story, which I think lands a lot in this episode, because, Human Winchester's going to hell, and we're all forced to watch it happen.
Because that's the show we sign up to suffer.
Yeah, this is also J. Miller Tobin's second episode, and he hasn't been with us in a while. His first time was in 214 Born Under a Bad Sign, which was the episode where Sam was possessed by Meg, and Dean should have killed him, but didn't and couldn't, and it became very apparent that the only 2 things that could stop Sam from going dark side were Bobby and Sam himself, which is not great backup this season.
Well, at least that was a more interesting episode than Sin City.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Sin City was a bit of a drag, but we're here now. Let's talk about how much we liked this episode and rank it. Meredith, what would you like to rank this episode?
It was fun. It was weird. I'll give it like an 8.5, a 9, something like that.
Okay, cool.
You can choose one.
Jeremy, what would you like to rank this episode?
I'll go with a solid 8, maybe 8.5. I think the thing that really gets me with this episode is just all of the young Sam and Dean stuff. I think that elevates it more than just a normal Christmas monster kind of situation. And I'm really, really weak to young Sam and Dean having feelings. So
I agree.
No, they're so cute.
Jordan, how about you?
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 7.5.
Okay, I was gonna go for 9, but I think you've convinced me to come down a little bit. I'm also gonna give it an 8.5. that, like, why not point is purely for the teeth and fingernail pulling. It's well documented since, like, episode 6 of this podcast that I don't like that. I don't like when things fall out. No. I don't like when they're pulled out. And also, like, there's a plot hole in this episode that I don't like that is just, like, part of the show. But the end scene of this episode is, like, what I watch when I just, like, want to see, like, Sam and Dean just, like, being soft and, like, having a moment together. So
that's nice. At least there's nice things.
Total death count this week, we saw 3 deaths, bringing our on-screen total to 227. Let me check, because I wrote 220 and I didn't put a final number. Because why would I finish that thought?
So impressed y'all are keeping up with this. We made a lot of promises when we started Supernatural, like, we're going to keep a list of every time the boys lie to each other, and very quickly abandoned all of that.
It's all KJ. I just show up and talk about nerd stuff.
Yes, I do my best. It is, our on-screen total is 227, and the on-screen total for this episode was 5, so that total is now 1,399 plus.
Okay, then.
Good times. Let's just get ready to recap and not dwell on that fact. This week, we start by flashing back a year to a child and his grandfather, and the grandfather is, like, dressing up as Santa for his grandson. It's supposed to be this moment of childhood wonder and magic, and it's promptly ruined by Grandpa being dragged up the chimney, and the only thing left behind is a boot smeared with blood, like, falling back down. It's terrible. The child needs therapy.
It's so traumatizing. So dark.
Really. And then we cut to present, and Dean's interviewing a wife whose husband also just went missing, suspected kidnapping while she and her daughter were home, which is horrifying. Even if there's not a monster involved, just to be, like, home alone and, like, someone else gets grabbed and you don't.
Home alone at Christmas time.
And, like, someone who I think would generally be perceived as being, like, physically stronger than, like, a mom and a child. Like, that's the dad that's missing is a whole thing. But Sam pulled a tooth out of the chimney, and Dean immediately is like, there's logistical issues around a man fitting up a chimney. Which makes me at some point in his life, Dean Winchester has attempted to crawl up a chimney.
It has to have happened at least twice in his life.
Probably, but it's also just logical.
Like, Dean Winchester looked at the chimney and thought, I bet I can fit up there, and quickly found out he was wrong. And I'd just like to entirely stop for a moment and talk about the motel room set that they go to. Wait, no, first I want to be like, Sam's like, yeah, a man can't fit up a chimney unless he's in, like, multiple pieces. And then they go to the motel, and the motel room set is a whole thing. I thought Sam was sitting cross-legged on the couch because his knees were, like, way up by his elbows. And then I realized that this giant-ass man is just sitting on a couch that's so short that when his feet are flat on the floor, none of his thigh is touching the couch.
What is the point of this couch?
And I'm like, he doesn't look uncomfortable, and Jared's, like, kind of famous for sitting weirdly on chairs, but, like, they could have gotten a taller couch for this set, but it's fine.
No idea.
The team pretends not to know who Dick Van Dyke or Mary Poppins is, and I just feel like he absolutely knows all about Mary Poppins, but okay.
Who doesn't know about Mary Poppins in the Western world?
It's a very weird thing, because I feel like the writers hadn't figured out that Dean is a pop culture maniac yet. So, like, we get these moments in the early seasons where he's like, I don't know who Mary Poppins is. And then, like, in season, making up a thing, like season 14 or something, he's just like a Mary Poppins documentarian, right? Like,
he's making Frozen references, even though, like,
yeah.
that came out when he was a wholeless adult, like.
No, it's probably just a continuity error, but we could just say it's Dean becoming more comfortable with himself.
It's fine. This episode is the episode for continuity errors. It's whatever.
I like my explanation better.
There's a third victim also grabbed from his home earlier in the month, and Sam's theory is Evil Santa, the Anti-Claus, aka Santa's evil brother. And Dean's like, that's really wild, because Santa can't have a brother, because Santa's not real. And Sam's like, yeah, I'm well aware of that fact. I'm 24 years old. Also, you told me that when we were kids.
Stop being such a Grinch and listen to him talk.
Sam's really in his, like, Grinch era this episode, and I love it, but...
I love it.
Shut up, Dean. I'm talking about mythology.
I love the phrase anti-clause. Like, that's it's just a really nice, succinct phrase for what they're dealing with here. It's very funny.
You're the Santa Claus and Anti-Claus.
Exactly.
Sam's just like, I have to be wrong about all of this, and he, like, slams his laptop closed, and Dean's like, well, both of recent victims were last seen at Santa's village, so, like, let's go there. And that's when Dean's like, I want to do Christmas because I'm dying. Forgot to mention Sam's hair looking great in this episode. I, like, stopped in the middle of the scene to be like, Sam's hair, it's good. We really nailed this off-center part, and it's a good length. It's not important to the plot, but very important to me personally that my boy be looking good.
It's the audience's Christmas present.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's unfortunate that Dean's hair is so bad in this episode, though, because,
it really is
wow.
not great.
It's really... I started the episode, and, like, as soon as you see him at the door of the interview with the wife, I was like, what in the... Like, I haven't seen young Dean in a long time, so I was like, whoa!
and there's not much there to do wrong with Dean's hair, so the fact that it's bad really is just such a misstep. Like, there's not much there to mess up.
Yeah.
It's fine. Sam's like, I don't want to do Christmas. The Christmases we had as kids were not Hallmark moments, and we established in the pilot that Sam hates Halloween, but, like, it actually just extends to all holidays. And I like my Sam Winchester, hopeful but grumpy, and I feel like hates Christmas is just, like, hitting that sweet spot for me. He's like, we had some great Christmases. And Sam's like, whose childhood are you remembering? And last season, Sam played a little too fast and loose with the dad was doing his best bullshit. That's not here this episode. It's gone.
We applaud it.
Yeah, this is a better fit for me, personally. I'm not here for John apologism from anybody, least of all Sam Winchester.
Shut up.
Amen.
Yes, please acknowledge how terrible your childhood was.
And Sam's like, I don't want to have Christmas. I don't want to think about it's our last Christmas together, and I will not be indulging in any nostalgia for Christmases past or present. And this is a reminder that, like, Sam, for Christmas and all these holidays, like, it's a reminder that no matter how hard Sam ever tried to be normal, like, he's just never going to be normal. Like, normal, like, family holidays are just not a thing that's been a part of his life, and you can call Sam a Grinch for it.
I think it's really interesting, too, because, like, Dean at least had a few years with, like, the nuclear family Winchester. Like, he probably had a couple of good Christmases with Mary and John.
Like, 2 to 4 is a great age to have Christmas. Like, after you hit 2, like, you start to know what Christmas is, and, like, there's the anticipation and, like, the childhood magic, and, like, Sam just has nothing.
Yeah, he literally has never probably had a good Christmas in his entire life up to this point.
It's like, no, Dean, I'm not a Grinch, I'm just traumatized.
Sam then stares down a fake reindeer, which, to be fair, is terrifying. This thing it's got eyes that are creepy. It's got creepy eyes.
Hello, children, have you been good?
And Sam just, like, engages in a staring contest with it for no reason, but it's really so we can have a flashback to Christmas of 1991 in Broken Bow, Nebraska. For anyone who's been keeping up with our discussion episodes or who counts John's journal as canon adjacent, you might remember that 1991 was a bit of a big year in the life of Sam Winchester. That whole thing with Sam being referred to as a special child started in 1991, and Dean, like, had to kill a hunter who, like, threatened to kill Sam, like, Gordon Walker style. That whole, like, Black Seville and Mrs. Lau, that was all 91, so, like, big year that we're ending. Christmas is also specifically in John's journal. Something that we don't see in this episode is that Dean stole something else besides some neighbor kid's presents, because when John is, like, with them, Dean presents John with a pair of night vision goggles that John's just like, oh, he must have stolen these at a gun show that we, like, came through a few months back.
That's fine. Father of the year.
The entry literally ends by John fully writing out the question of, would the boys be better off somewhere else, with someone else, living a normal life? That's a direct quote.
Oh my god.
Yes, they would be.
Like, John fully wrote that out. And then John goes, no, I'm their father. Merry Christmas. And ends his entry. Like, that is how the entry ends. The lack of self-awareness. Like,
that is horrifying.
You were so close to the point, and you just missed it entirely.
That's absolutely horrifying. I've not read that journal, and that's bad.
I highly recommend it. There are some things that don't match up with canon, but, like, the things that are in there, and, like, because it is John's point of view, there's a lot of times where John's just like, I'm trying to do my best, but, like, he's reflecting on how bad of a job he's doing, and, like, hi.
Like, no, keep going, you're almost there.
But almost every time he does, it does turn into, no, I'm their dad, I'm just doing my best, and I should be applauded. But
no, sweetheart, no.
The flashbacks in this episode also have nothing to do with the episode. Like, the last time we saw flashbacks was in season 1, and they were, like, case relevant. These ones aren't. They're just, like, Sam and Dean having a bad time at Christmas.
Yeah, they're just Christmas emotional punishment.
They're emotionally damaging to all who watch them.
Well, they have to do with the whole Christmas theme of the episode.
Yeah.
So they're relevant in that way.
They're just not case relevant. They have nothing to do with our monster, but that's okay. Little Sam is watching Rudolph, which is so nostalgic. Love that Christmas vibe. And he's wrapping a present for John that he got from Uncle Bobby. And I just want to know why they're being left alone and they couldn't spend Christmas at Uncle Bobby's. Like, this 8-year-old and 12-year-old should not be left alone for any amount of time, and they should be at Bobby's.
I just thought the real monster was our emotions all along.
It was John Winchester.
Yeah, him too. He's the more visceral one.
This small Sam is played by Colin Ford. It's Colin Ford's first young Sam, but he plays young Sam through to, I believe, it's season 11 or so. He recently was also on Jared's new show Walker, where he once again, played young version of Jared's character, Cordell Walker. He's only got this, like, Jared impression down. They do look a lot alike.
And I was like, oh my god, it's young Sam!
It's that guy! He's back on a different show!
This guy's just really making his career by playing, like, young Jared Padalecki.
It's like a really, really specific McKenna Grace.
Yeah, McKenna Grace is just young everybody, and it's great. Small Sam is just as sassy as large Sam. Dean is like, what'd you get, Dad? And Sam's like, a pony. And I don't know if we have any Veronica Mars fans in the house, but this is like a running gag on Veronica Mars, where she'll be given a small gift, usually from her father, Keith Mars, who's the anti-John. He's a great father who's, like, spouse left them, so he's, like, single fathering it up. And she'll act like she's been given a pony, and then in the reboot season, she and her boyfriend have a very large dog named Pony that was a gift from her dad.
I never watched the reboot season. That's a really good touch.
The reboot season is really great as long as you don't watch the last, like, 8 minutes of the last episode.
All right.
If you stop at the wedding, you're good. If you watch past the wedding, you've gone too far.
I've heard.
It's kind of like Supernatural, where it's just like, just pretend the end didn't happen. It was going really great until that thing. Dean promises that their dad's going to be home, and Sam's like, what's Dad doing? Which, like, frustrates them both and, like, annoys Dean, and Sam asks a few more questions, and then, like, as soon as he mentions their mom, Dean just loses it and screams in Sam's face, never talk about her, and then just, like, leaves. He storms out, which is not super responsible, but, like, Dean's also 13 years old. He's not supposed to have to be responsible. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't really trust 13-year-olds with anything.
Yeah. Let alone, like, another human being. But it's fine, because Dean's been doing this for, like, 4 years at least. Because that's how long it's been since we saw our last flashback of them as children. There's zero snow, because, I guess, Vancouver, they have to write it in as a plot point later, because, like, it's Vancouver and it just does not snow there.
I don't think I've seen snow down here in literal years. Like, climate change is doing a number on the south part of the U.S.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we're getting snow really late lately, which is weird, disconcerting.
I live in Ottawa, and we're supposed to have snow, but it was 18 degrees here yesterday, which is, like, I want to say, like, 60 or 70 degrees for you guys.
Yeah, it's really weird. It was
making me something this week here.
It's wild. It's been so weird.
I don't like it.
Anyway, they're still at the like, Santa's village or whatever, and an employee comes over and asks if they need help directing their child to stand in line, and Dean's like, oh no, if we don't have a child, Sam's the one who wants to see Santa, and Sam looks like he'd rather engage with the clown than go talk to Santa, and the employee looks at these two grown-ass giants and goes, sorry, no kids over 12? And Sam's like, oh no, like, we're just here to watch, and everyone reacts badly to that statement, but no one asked them to leave. We've created a safeguarding issue.
Yeah.
You know, many of this mostly children.
I was gonna say, oh, the employee has her customer service face on, but, like, yeah, you should have asked him to leave, because that is so creepy.
That was definitely one of those customer service moments where you're just like, I give up. I'm not going to bother with this. If this dude wants to hang out, that's fine. They don't pay me enough.
Should I call the cops, or should I just leave because he's a foot taller than me?
You should leave, but keep an eye on them, and then call the police to have these two perverts removed.
Like, there we go. I'll tell my manager to call the police. It can be their problem.
Santa then, like, hobbles past them, and they're like, that's a good candidate to be the Andy Claus. And so they go stake out this guy's house, which is just, like, a motorhome, and he's just, like, clearly this, like, normal dude who just, like, is Santa for a living. And Dean's like, Sam, why are you the boy who eats Christmas? Like, I promise we'll do a good Christmas. And Sam's like, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to be involved. And Dean's like, if you don't do Christmas with me, it's just me. Like, it doesn't work that way. It just means the point of Christmas. And they decide that they're going to go into this guy's house, that they have to intervene. But Sam stops them at the door to take a, like, moment to point out the irony of Dean, like, maybe having to kill Santa when he wants to do Christmas so badly. And I'm just like, Sam, you could just not. You don't have to rub it in.
Sam, that was a cringe moment.
That was too far. They go in and they, like, Santa is just, like, some dude in the most disgusting undershirt that's ever existed. Please just throw it away, sir. But he's just, like, getting drunk and walking forward. Like, this guy's miserable and lonely, and that's all. Possible evidence of a new Christmas-themed Casa Erotica. We are trying to find all the Casa Erotica titles that we can. This indicates that there might be a Christmas one that exists.
Ooh, interesting.
It's very, very important.
Dean starts singing Silent Night, and Sam and Santa Guy both try to, like, join in, but Santa's too too drunk, and none of them know the words.
This episode is the entire reason I thought that Jensen Ackles couldn't sing, and I was shocked to learn that he could.
Yeah, no, this is just him acting.
It's good. It's very good acting.
Yeah, it's very, Dean can't sing, but Jensen's very good.
Oh, yes.
Acting moment. I don't know how you act like you can't do something that you're so good at, but he can, so.
If you can sing, it's actually pretty easy to pretend you can.
Cut to another child wearing the same type of pajamas as the kid in the first scene. Production just went to Walmart and bought the cheapest generic winter PJs that they could find.
You know what? I respect them for it.
Same. More money for blood and fingernails, less money for PJs.
Yeah.
Santa comes down the chimney, walks past the kid, puts one of his parents into a sack, and drags him down the stairs past the kid, knocks the parent out, and then, reaches over the kid to take a cookie for the road, and just, drags his parent up the chimney.
Scene is so dark, but it is weirdly hilarious.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that we just entirely focus on the kid, and we don't really see most of the action.
Yeah, we don't see anything that happens upstairs with the parents. We just kind of are with the kid, and then we cut to Sam and Dean interviewing the mom, who was I was asleep, it was dark, then I got knocked out, and he was gone. I didn't see anything of note. And Sam's hey, what about this Christmas wreath you have? Which Dean is okay, I don't know what you're doing.
Tell me about the wreath. What is wrong with you, Martha Stewart?
Dean's do you want to ask where she got her shoes or what? And Sam's we saw an identical wreath yesterday, the day before, at the other victim's house. And Sam calls Bobby, and Bobby's y'all are morons. And the wreaths are probably made of meadowsweet, which is used for sacrifices to pagan gods back in the day. And almost all Christmas traditions are based on pagan traditions, because that's how you avoided religious persecution back in the day. And
well, there are other reasons, but that is one of them.
One of the things that Sam specifically says is that Santa's red suit is a remnant of pagan lore, and I'm actually it's a remnant of late stage capitalism, aka the Coca-Cola company, but
yes.
It's a remnant of late stage capitalism, not like that.
Dean makes a comment about the Easter Bunny being Jewish, which is of course meant to be seen as silly because Easter and Passover are all connected by the crucifixion story. That's not my wheelhouse.
Easter is pretty pagan, though.
Yeah. Also, I have this whole thing where I think that the Campbells were Jewish, so I just
There we go.
Sam is mild weather would be a sign of these sacrifices happening, and Dean's that explains why we're in Michigan in December and there's no snow, and I'm just literally in Vancouver and he couldn't get snow.
You have to write it in.
They could have just been in a place where it doesn't generally see snow. There are lots of places in the U.S. that don't usually have snow in December.
No, this is what we're doing.
But they go to the shop that sells the wreaths while they wait for Bobby to get back to them with a plan on how to kill a god. But they kind of are they're kind of vague theory is the person selling these wreaths will be the person who's doing the sacrificing / taking the sacrifices. And I'm okay, so we're just gonna talk to that guy and not know how to kill him? Okay, we're putting a lot on Bobby in this moment. I'm always glad that we call Bobby and ask for help, but what if he doesn't call back in time?
Also, we're not shocked that they went forward with this course of action.
So true. Very on brand.
You guys are very stupid.
It takes them a long time to become really good hunters. I feel for these first few seasons, they're just dumbasses.
They kind of
trial and error, right? This is how they learn.
Exactly, yeah.
You die a few times, and so be it.
Yeah. Sam takes some umbrage at being called fussy by the shopkeeper, but it does get them what they want. The wreaths were made locally and given to this guy, and he just sold them because he wants to make money, because, again, capitalism.
Fair enough.
They head back to the motel so Dean can reminisce on the year that John stole a wreath made of empty beer cans from a liquor store, and he wants to see if he can find one, and Sam calls him Bing Crosby, which is, the singer of White Christmas, which you can hear Jared sing on Jason Mann's Christmas with Friends album. You might also hear some other familiar voices on the album, including Jensen singing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, or our trickster Richard Speight Jr. singing Holly Jolly Christmas, as well as some future supernatural actors, Misha Collins singing The 12 Days of Christmas, and Rob Benedict singing Little Drummer Boy. One of my favorite Christmas albums to put on this time of year.
Cool.
Have y'all seen the Christmas movie that Jensen was in?
I have not.
He was in a Christmas movie? Was it
It's called Christmas Cottage, and it's I managed to get through the first 30 seconds before just turning it off immediately.
Was it one of those Hallmark rom-coms?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those, and it's horrifying. The very first scene is him painting a woman, and it is the most cringy thing that I've ever seen.
I have to add that to our list because we don't have another Christmas episode for a long time. So for some holiday seasons, maybe when we get get close and we have a discussion episode, maybe we'll watch some holiday stuff that the rest of the cast have been in.
No, I have to watch it.
It's the one TikTok that we did for Monster of the Week that actually like made any kind of numbers whatsoever. It's just a short clip of that, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrible."
Incredible. My brother's 20. Like my family kind of like went through a phase where we were buying him Bud Light themed merch. He was a Bud Light can for Halloween. He's got sweaters, keychains, etc. I can definitely see my brother having a beer can wreath. If there's going to be a wreath made of beer cans, I can see him owning something like that.
Oh wow.
Sam's like, our childhood is not the only reason I don't want to do Christmas. There's this whole thing that's happening the last year.
I'm sure he had something important to do.
Dean's like, yeah, it's my last Christmas. And Sam's like, yeah, that's why I can't do Christmas. I can't pretend everything's going to be fine when I know that next Christmas Dean's going to be dead and I'll be alone because Sam can't be alone. Sam has two grief responses. They are ignore the grief or be absolutely consumed by it. And this week he is choosing consumption.
I mean, so did a lot of people in the 1800s.
There's more flashbacks. Dean comes back. He's brought an appeasement dinner because he stormed out. And Sam has been skipping through Dean's stuff, through John's stuff. He's got John's journal, which Dean is like, why do you have that? Dad is going to be so mad.
For a second, I totally forgot this was a flashback, and I was like, why is Sam confused about Dean having the journal?
Sam's been reading. He's intensive reading, and he makes Dean tell him about all of the supernatural stuff and what John's really doing, and Dean describes John as a superhero, which is too much for me.
No, guys.
And he's like, Sam, it's not real. And I'm like, this is my big plot hole, because it makes no sense for the whole series that Sam makes it to the age of 8 years old without knowing anything about the supernatural. There's zero reason for it. It's, I think, the one thing that John's journal does better than the show, which is in John's journal, Sam just kind of grows up knowing everything. Like when Sam's like being taught how to read, it's like them like looking through the newspapers for weird, mysterious deaths, and like it's just like there's a reason for Dean to want to protect Sam from the supernatural. There's no reason for John to want to protect Sam from the supernatural.
Yeah, I think they should have gone for the best of both worlds.
And I don't like that aspect of it, but it's fine. It's what we have.
Yeah.
When I rewrite Supernatural, I can make that change if I want to.
I'm ready.
It's happening. It's fine.
I'll fix it. I'll fix everything.
Sam's really upset by this news because he read that monsters killed their mom, and while John is an absolute piece of trash, John and Dean are, somewhat toxic about masculinity. It's not Dean's fault. He's 13 years old. But Sam's idea of what parents are is that, like, they're all, like, equal regardless of gender. He's just like, moms and dads are grown-ups, and all grown-ups are the same. So if mom got killed by monsters, there's zero things that dad could do that would make him less likely to be killed by monsters.
It's comforting. Thank you.
Children's logic.
Yeah. I just really liked that Sam's children's logic is like all grown-ups are the same.
I love how like 13-year-olds just have no filter. Like they're figuring things out and they're excited about it and they're just like, now you have to know.
Yeah, and Dean's like, Dad's gonna be fine. Like, everything's fine. We're fine. Dad's fine. Like, don't even worry about it. And Sam's like trying really hard not to cry. And he's like, I just want to go sleep. And he lays down and he starts crying. And all Dean can do is promise that, like, when Sam wakes up, things are going to be better. But they're clearly not going to be better because John doesn't come home before Sam wakes up.
They're clearly not going to be better because they're still doing this.
Then we're back with adult Sam and Dean, and they're going to knock on the door of the wreath lady, Madge Kerrigan, and her husband talks like a 1950s commercial voiceover guy. Like, I bet you that's what he does for a living.
I've seen that actor in so many other places, and I think that's just his voice, and I love it.
He just talks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go, dude.
Sam has given like, they talk to these people, but they don't go in. Like, it's a two-step process, but I kind of forgot. So they go talk to these people, then they go back to the motel, and they talk to Bobby, and Sam gives these people a goog, and they kidnapped 2 people in Seattle last year, or at least that's what Sam has, like, worked out before moving here. So that's one more that we didn't see at the top of the episode that we can add to our death count. And Bobby has come through with a solution. He's like, just stab him with these evergreen stakes, and it'll be fine.
Evergreen stakes.
They go back to the house, and they break in, and the house looks totally normal and Christmassy until Sam finds a locked door, which takes them to a murder basement. And I covered this up with Beth and Jamie on Driver Fix podcast last year, and I still feel the same about the scene. When you find a murder basement, turn on the lights. It's already bad. Like, everything in this basement is already a nightmare.
We don't want a nice atmosphere for the horror. We want to see what's going on.
It becomes 110 times worse when every new horrible thing is, like, in the dark, suddenly highlighted by the beam of a flashlight. Existing as, like, a singular thing. They also immediately get jumped by these two gods because it's dark and they don't see them coming.
You should have turned on the lights, you idiots.
Exactly. Just turn the lights on when you stumble upon a murder basement.
Have any of y'all seen the recent movie Barbarian by chance?
No, I've
seen the trailer and I know that a basement is involved.
It has. I won't spoil anything about it, but it has one of the best reactions to a murder basement I've ever seen in any horror fiction ever. Like throughout my entire life, it was just one of my favorite things.
Incredible. That actually makes me want to watch it. I'm not a big horror movie person, but like that sounds promising.
All right, you can watch it and then send me a clip of that horror reaction.
There's a quick camera effect where we see the real faces of these two gods for like half a second. I've seen this episode a dozen times, and this was the first time I actually noticed it. Special effects money not well spent. It adds nothing.
What do they look like?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Neither do I.
It's literally for like half a second. Their faces kind of like, and they kind of have like dark like circles around their eyes and like weird mouths for like literally like a second. I've never noticed until this time.
Well, that's boring.
There's a point kind of later where it happens again, like during the fight scene, but like it happens here for like no real reason. And I'm like, I just noticed the first time. I've probably seen this episode like 10 times at least, but it's fine. Sam and Dean wake up and they're tied to chairs facing away from one another. And this is where the episode gets good/bad, in that there are some fun dialogue moments, but some truly awful shots of Sam getting his fingernail ripped out.
That's nice.
Sam and Dean make 5 sacrifices for this year. So yeah, that's where we confirm our death count number. It says 3 from here and 2 in Seattle, so 5. It's always nice when they do the math for me.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to just have my work checked. And Mr. and Mrs. God have worked really hard to assimilate and blend in to the neighborhood, which I think honestly makes the way that this episode ends better.
Yes.
But Sam loses a fingernail and Dean's about to lose a tooth when the doorbell rings, and it's a neighbor with fruitcake offering for them to go caroling, and they say no. I believe this is like one of 2 Christmassy episodes that exist in Supernatural, and like both of them involve Sam getting his fingernails ripped out by overly cheerful people. Like, it's no wonder Sam hates holidays. It's 2 times too many.
I was just gonna say, I love the moment where they close the door on their like equally idyllic neighbor, and the second they do, they return to like growling and dropping the fruitcake, and it's just hilarious.
They drop the fruitcake and then step on it for good measure.
It's like, we're so disgusted with ourselves and you, and just go away.
Which makes me wonder, because their house is filled with baked goods. Like, Madge Kerrigan's been baking up a storm. Like, there's tarts and Christmas cookies and like a huge ass gingerbread house. And like, are they planning on giving all this food away? Like,
probably. It's just part of the disguise.
It's just like the Great British Bake Off, where they just have a bunch of food in the back and nobody ever eats it or interacts with it. Like, why are you're making food in the show? Why are you have other food around?
Yeah.
They watched like a whole bunch of 1960s Christmas movies, and they were just like, yeah, this is how we have to be.
This is where
we're not concerned about food waste. There's not a climate crisis going on. It's fine. I mean, it was 2007. It wasn't that bad yet.
We're gods on the show Supernatural. We eat people and nothing else. And Meredith isn't bitter about it.
But it's too late for Mr. and Mrs. God, because while they've been talking to their neighbor, Sam and Dean have escaped from their bonds, and Dean like jams one door shut and Sam's holding the other, and he's like suggests that they use a Christmas tree as the replacement stakes. This is some Buffy summer shit. One thing I've learned from Buffy is everything can be a stake if you snap it in the right spot.
100%. 100%.
You can learn from her. She's very good at what she does.
You can use a pencil to kill a vampire, and that counts as a stake.
It's 100%. Wood. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
It's wood, it's pointy.
If it's wood and you can sharpen it, it's a stake.
But Dean's arm is cut in the kitchen, and then when he helps Sam to push the shelf in front of the door, it's very obviously like not bleeding anymore, and then when he's in the dining room fighting again, it's bleeding a lot. Just, they forgot some fake blood for half a minute.
It's fine. It's fine. They forgot a bunch of other things too. It's okay.
Yeah. Sam gets thrown, and I thought he might have gotten knocked out, but he didn't.
It's his Christmas present.
I was like, is this the week Sam breaks? He's not getting knocked out straight? And I'm like, no, he's up. Doesn't count. But he stabs Madge, and that provides enough of a distraction for Dean to take out the husband. And there's about 2 seconds after the fight where they're just breathing so hard. It's the only sound. There's no other background noise. There's no talking. They're just recovering from the fight and breathing loudly.
I think we should raid the house for all these sweets. I think they're poisoned.
They should have, honestly.
They should have taken this whole situation back with them to whatever crappy hotel that they're currently staying in, right?
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have been just so much better. There's so many cookies here. You should eat them. They're important.
Someone should eat them, honestly.
Are you just gonna leave them? They're right there.
The tarts look really good. I could definitely eat a couple of those, like, right now. But Sam wishes Jean a Merry Christmas, and I would just like everyone to imagine the fallout of this scene that they leave behind. Because there's this couple, they're very involved in the community, they're very cheerful, they're known for loving Christmas and playing weekly bridge with their neighbors, and in the papers tomorrow, it's going to be like, couple murdered on Christmas in their own home with their own Christmas tree. If only they'd accepted this invitation from their neighbor to go caroling, they would have been spared.
That neighbor's going to be like, were the people in the house at that time?
And then, like, a couple of days later...
And then they're going to find the murder basement, right?
Basement.
Like, so this is going to be a huge controversy. Like, what is going on with these houses?
The first day, it's going to be, like, couple murdered on Christmas, their own Christmas tree. And then, like, 2 days later, it's going to be like, these people have a murder basement in their house.
Were they murdered by prospective victims?
They're going to be, like, a famous murder. People are going to be talking about this in this town for, like, generations. Like, remember that couple that had the murder basement and got murdered on Christmas? Like,
it's going to be on, like, their universe's version of BuzzFeed Unsolved. It's going to be great.
It's the Ghostfacers. Their version of BuzzFeed Unsolved is the Ghostfacers.
Oh man, I hate that you're right.
yeah, that's if only the Ghostfacers could be as good as BuzzFeed Unsolved. If only.
Yeah, they're trying so hard.
It's the misogyny that brings them down.
100%, yeah.
But we're back with baby Sam and Dean, and Sam's being woken up by Dean, who's like, Dad was here, and he tried to wake you up, and you just wouldn't wake up, because we're gaslighting Sam now.
It's fine.
Yeah. This is a pattern we're going to see for things that happened in Sam's life when he was a kid, where Dean and John just, like, told him something, and that's not what happened. So that's a fun pattern. It's always great to know that, like, the one person you trust most in the world definitely gaslit you as a child.
While also being a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The cycles of these are fun. And Sam starts opening gifts, and one's Sapphire Barbie, the other's like this like sparkly baton, and Sam's like, you definitely stole these from some girl.
It's the thought that counts.
I'm looking at my original notes that I made for when we covered this like 7 years ago, and in my notes I wrote that he got a Sapphire Barbie and a dance rod, and I'm like, what the hell is a dance rod? Why did I call it that? It's just a baton.
What was happening to me 7 years ago?
I forgot the word baton.
Incredible, honestly.
Dance rod.
I would also just like to point out that Sapphire Barbie didn't come out until 1997, and this is 91, so, like, the set design people in the writing room did not do their research.
Got him.
Me down the, like, rabbit hole. No, because, like, Barbies have special edition, like, Christmas Barbies that were, like, a big deal, so I was like, is this one of those? And then I was like, Sapphire Barbie 1997? That doesn't make sense.
We'll just add that to the list of things we have to hold them accountable for.
I think I'll let this one slide compared to some of the other atrocities that occur in the supernatural lore.
You know what? Fair enough. This one's pretty low on the list.
Yeah. Sam then offers Dean the gift that he picked up for John because Sam lied to Dean, and Dean's the only one who's here, and Dean opens it, and it's Dean's necklace that he always wears, this amulet, which is, you know, like a big symbol of, like, their parental bond as much as their brotherly bond. Back with our big Winchester boys, Sam's waiting for Dean, and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is playing, and Sam's done up the room for Christmas, and their, like, tree is decorated with car air fresheners, and Jensen falls victim to Jared spiking the eggnog for real, which will never not be funny.
Like, we're grown-ups. We can do that now.
The unfiltered reaction of Jensen taking a sip of eggnog that he's not expecting to be really spiked, and it's, like, extremely overly filled with alcohol. You can't fake that.
No, not at all.
Dean and Sam exchange gifts. Sam's gifts are wrapped in newspaper like his present from 1991, and Dean has gotten Sam porn and shaving cream, and Sam has gotten Dean chocolate and oil for the car, which, you know, is probably due for an oil change.
presents suck except for the chocolate.
Yeah, these are either like really good or really bad gifts. Like they both like what the other person got them, which is important, but it's not like a gift of the Magi moment. They're not meaningful or sentimental gifts, especially like something to remember Dean by. Like
the last thing he gave me was this porn.
It's not how you want to be remembering your brother.
I'm like over 40 years old, and I've done a lot of Christmases with my good friends over the years, and I've never ever seen one guy give another guy porn, much less brothers. And when I saw this the first time, I was like, I was watching this episode as it came out, and I remember turning to my wife and going like, "What? Are you serious?
Is that a thing?"
It is literally like they both went down to the gas station and like,
and they just picked up stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a good bit. Like I feel like it's funny. Like it works in the context of the show. It's just one of those things. If you think about it for 10 seconds, you're like, what?
Wait, it's a weird thing to get your brother, and especially because like you know that like this is the last thing you're like ever gonna buy him. Like you're not gonna have another Christmas, and we don't know. Like I don't think we have an exact date on like when Dean's deal is up, but like I don't think we're even gonna like hit another like birthday for Sam or anything. Like we're running out of time.
Although it is pretty in character with Dean. I'm imagining him like looking at the rack of magazines, and he's like, he's gonna need company while I'm gone.
God, that makes it even worse.
So much worse. No,
so much worse.
Because we know that Dean is overly invested in Sam's sex life. Like that has been a thing.
God, I hate that you're right.
Yes.
Because Dean wants Sam to perform his sexuality. Like prove you're straight.
Just like me,
you must be constantly proving you are straight the way that I must constantly prove that I am straight by flaunting all of my romantic like ventures.
They're all with women. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yes, literally. It's a whole thing. It's getting slightly better. Like more time is passing now, but like it was very aggravating in the first season. Like when like it's just like, dude, like his girlfriend died.
Yeah. Stop trying to get him to make out with random victims of horrible monsters.
For real.
They're grieving too.
Those people don't have enough shit going on. They don't need Sam Winchester in their lives. And like Sam's going through something. Sam starts to say something like sentimental that he just like can't. So he just suggests that they watch the game. And that's the thing people do, right? Like there's football on. I don't know when football season is, but okay.
Sure, yeah.
That's a thing that men do.
Yeah, that's a thing that happens on holidays.
We are aliens trying to understand human behavior. It's fine.
There's this great shot, well directed. It's them, they're sitting inside on the couch, and then we're like pulling back through the window, and then there's like Christmas lights, and some snow is finally falling because they've killed the monsters, and it's like falling onto the car, and the Christmas lights are reflected on the car. It's beautiful. Looks gorgeous. And that's how the episode ends. So, MVP of the week, Meredith.
Oh, I was really hoping someone else would go first.
I can make that happen. I do have the power to do that.
No, it's okay. I'll just tough through it, and I'll get points for this later in heaven. See, I'll go with Dean. He had a lot of Big Brother energy this week, and I haven't voted for him in a while, so I'll go with Dean.
Yeah, it's fair. Jeremy, how about you?
I gotta go with Sam. Like, you just gotta, poor dude, just is not.
He's got his fingernail ripped off.
He got his fingernail ripped off. He's had terrible Christmases, and then he still steps up at the end to like give Dean the Christmas that he wants. And it's just a very sweet, like, brotherly thing to do. So I'm gonna go with Sam this week.
Yeah, he also got traumatized. Like, he found out that monsters exist, and like his dad was Christmas. Like, it was a rough Christmas.
So he goes through a lot in 45 minutes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's fair. Jordan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Sam. His life sucked.
I thought, like, case-wise, it was a pretty even split between Sam and Dean for actual case, but the person who actually saved their case was Bobby. So I decided to go split between Dean and Bobby because Bobby provided them all the case info, but the 12-year-old Dean had all of the parental responsibility for young Sam. So I gave them half a point each.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Slightly mad that we talked to Bobby 2 times in this episode and we did not see or actually hear Bobby.
Can't pay those guest actor rates.
Yes. This week's Case of the Week was Pagan Gods. I'm just trusting that Meredith has some stuff.
I do have stuff, yes. So, the term pagan was originally used by Romans to describe any religion that wasn't Christianity or Judaism. Later, that was extended to include Islam. The term was associated with being rustic or unlearned. It's important to note that no one actually described themselves as pagan until the 20th century. That's a very recent thing. That doesn't make it any less valid, and if you describe yourself as pagan, good for you. When I say pagan, pagan, however, I'm usually using it in a similar way that the Romans did, more or less without the negative connotations. I'm not trying to be insulting. However, this means that the term pagan god, as used in this episode, is really, really vague and applies to every part of the world. And I'm assuming the gods in this episode are from some part of Europe that isn't the Mediterranean, because they don't look Greek to me.
I think we might have gotten a name for one of them when we addressed the snow. I don't remember. I just remember like Sam like specifically being like, when you sacrifice this particular god, like you get mild weather, and that's why there's no snow.
I think it could have also been a reference to the Scarecrow episode.
That too.
Anyway, meadowsweet is a very common plant that grows all over Europe and Asia, so that's not helpful either.
Yes, it was treated like it was very hard to come by in this episode. Not true.
Yeah, no, it's a common plant. Stop trying to be special and stop meowing at me. I'm talking. Anyway.
Makar is the name of the god of winter solstice in the episode.
Nice. Did they say what culture that's from?
No, I don't think so.
Alright, never mind then. Modern paganism isn't quite as broad, but there's still a lot of variation, and I'm assuming that this episode isn't depicting any religions in particular, so we'll just ignore that.
Honestly, better that way.
Yep. There's also the fact that it's difficult to research most pagan religions in general. Most of them passed along their stories and practices through oral tradition, so very little is written down. Also, Roman colonization and Christian appropriation have erased a lot of the evidence or adopted it into their own practices and changed its original meaning. Both were very common. The Romans were adopting other gods into their pantheon all the time before they converted to Christianity and started spreading that instead. Despite the change in religion, the practice of adopting aspects of other religions remained. It's honestly just smarter to build an empire that way. It's not great for historians or sometimes for the people you're conquering, but yeah, it's just smarter as an empire.
It's that transitional phase a little.
It's just like, hey, you can keep a lot of your stuff as long as you give some of your stuff to us.
Yeah, we're gonna rename it all, but you can keep doing it.
We'll only rename it a little bit. It's fine. Anyway, there are many reasons for this, and though I don't want anyone to assume it's just because colonizers like stealing everyone's stuff. They do, but one of the reasons was because it made the transition from paganism to Christianity easier. A lot of the time, people would transfer their own traditions into Christianity, which resulted in a variety of practices from region to region. It's very interesting. However, as we established in the Scarecrow episode, human sacrifice was practiced in some parts of Europe, so the premise of this episode is plausible. Also, meadowsweet is used in paganism nowadays. I didn't look too far into it, but I saw a couple people say it's considered an aphrodisiac, so maybe you want your sacrifices to be having a nice time. I don't know.
While they're being sacrificed and consumed.
Whatever. It's also used in medicine to treat colds and heartburn, among other things.
Oh, that's nice.
In conclusion, if you're going to use gods in your fiction, please name the place or culture they come from, because it makes it easier for me to research them. That's the main reason.
Or don't, so you can just avoid offending one particular group.
No. Don't listen to her. I want to know.
There's
I want to
so many
correct you.
episodes where Supernatural does something really specific from another culture and they just do it so badly. So, you know what? Maybe vague is better.
But, it makes it easier for me to get on my soapbox and correct them with this Wikipedia article I found.
So true. Let's do highlight and lowlight, and let's start with Jeremy. Do you remember right after the episode?
Yeah. I think the highlight for me is probably I mentioned this earlier, but the young Sam and Dean stuff. Watching this as it came out and getting that kind of background information on the two kids was really eye-opening. Seeing their childhood really makes you have sympathy for the characters that they are as adults, and going through what they're going through. And it was one of those things that Supernatural did that I think really cemented it as a good show. And it completely brings you into their characters. And it's one of the reasons I think Supernatural was held on for as long as it did, is because of things like that. It wasn't just, the monster of the week thing. It was, they were actually building something with that stuff. The low light for me is just kind of how casually they just dispose of the monsters. It was just kind of they got a phone call, they got a steak, and then they're done. It was pretty simple. So
at least they killed the monsters.
Exactly. Yeah, they hunted the thing, even if they didn't save any people in this episode. So
they saved themselves. Sometimes that's all you can do.
Sometimes that's the family business.
There's so many episodes where I didn't notice that they didn't hunt the thing until I was listening back to some of the old Monster of the Week episodes. I'm oh yeah, they did that. Just didn't do that.
They just forgot to hunt the thing. That's the whole part of the thing. It's 1/3 of your job.
Whoops.
Jordan, what's your highlight, low light?
Low light, definitely the fingernails. Not a fan of fingernails, eyeballs, or teeth.
Same.
Oh, no.
The show's so bad for all of them. The show makes eating gross. It's just, the show's gross.
No, but my highlight was definitely like the Samulet, the origin of the Samulet, and like just all the like sweet brother stuff that they did and the flashbacks and kind of showing, Sam trying to give Dean the Christmas that he wanted, even though he knows like it's bittersweet because he knows he's going to be alone the next year. It's so sad.
Really sad. And Sam's just not capable of being alone. Like he's just not, that's not a thing he's capable of doing. It's not going to be good. Meredith, how about you?
Lowlight, also the fingernail scene, because ew. Highlight is Sam and Dean sassing the gods while they're being held captive, because that was hilarious. I also love just the whole, like, wholesome mid-20th century vibe of the god couple, because that was also pretty funny.
My highlight, also the fingernail, and like Jordan, my highlight is either the final shot at the end of the episode with the lights reflecting on baby, or it's Sam giving Dean the Samulet. Because, like, Dean wore that all the way through. Like, he wore that when Sam went off to college and left him. Like, he still wears it to this day. Like, oh, it's just so cute. It adds something to that particular piece of Dean's costume also, that, like, we've just, like, seen him wear that every episode since the pilot, and, like, now it, like, has this extra layer of meaning added to it. Very good.
All these emotions. It's great. It's what we're here for.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Everyone's favorite segment, I think, and such a good episode for it. Call CPS.
Okay, where do we begin? They're alone in the motel room. Dean had to steal their gifts.
They're 8 and 12 in those flashbacks. Like, John's not home when they expect him to come home. So, like, not only does he leave them, but, like, he does not come home on time when they're expecting him, which means who knows if they have enough food and money to get through, like, until he gets back.
I know that CBS probably doesn't care if it's Christmas, but it's Christmas, guys.
It's Christmas.
But it's also Christmas.
Dean is stealing from neighborhood children, according to John's rule. Dean's stealing from gun shows, which is a whole other level of...
Why are you at the gun show?
But also, I'm sorry, this happens every time we have people should have called CPS on John. Clearly Bobby knows that John's, like, leaving them. He's, like, the backup person that they're gonna call if something goes wrong. Bobby, why aren't they with you? Like, why do you not have that? We could have avoided this whole CPS call if Bobby, you just took them for a couple of days.
Or just shot John when you could have.
Forever. Yeah, why didn't you shoot John?
I guarantee it's because of John, right? John just refuses to allow Bobby any direct contact with those kids.
Because as soon as Bobby treats them too much like children, John, like, starts a big fight, and Bobby threatens to shoot John, and they just don't see Bobby anymore. Like, that is...
Yeah, horrible.
Horrible.
Yeah. I wonder if John, like, he's very paranoid, and he doesn't have any real friends. Maybe he just doesn't tell everyone where he is.
Probably so, not. Yeah. Like...
Or he just lies to Bobby, right? Like, the kids are in the back. They're just being really quiet. Just, they are safe and sound.
They're sleeping. I'm going to take them on this vampire hunt like a good dad.
Carlos is watching the boys, don't worry.
Please let it be Carlos. But we're going to go into our next segment to talk about the other CPS segment, where it's going to combine these two things. Because people who did not perform their jobs correctly, I thought we were mostly good, and then I remembered that first we had the shop owner guy who just gave out the Kerrigan's address, like, to two strange men who came in asking for it.
We're thankful, but ooh.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't give out people's addresses to strangers without checking with the person whose address it is first. My brother did that to me once, where he, like, gave out my phone number to some man who asked for it, and I was like, please don't do that again.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah.
Happened to my sister once. Not good.
Ask me first, please, next time.
Or just say no.
Yeah.
Ooh, kind of
the
off
easiest
the wall headcanon here. What if the shop owner was in on it?
That was their initial theory when they met with him for this scene. Like,
what if he was just not in the way we thought?
In which case, then he did not get dealt with in this episode, so maybe they didn't have the thing.
It's just like, I got a line with some different eldritch beings. It's my whole career now.
But then I was like, remember the elf? Because I'm sorry, if you're working at any sort of children's event and two childless adults say they're just there to watch the kids, call the police. Huge safety concern was created. She calls them sick and then walks away, leaving them standing 12 feet from a lineup of unsupervised children.
Maybe she ran to get her manager, and
they did not get out of there fast enough then. If they thought that she was going to call their manager on them, they did not hurry their way out of there.
They did not. No. Creepy
I was
man.
convinced that I knew the woman that plays the elf in the scene.
Me too, and no.
I'm going through her IMDb page, and like, it's just Smallville, like one episode of like shows that I've never seen before. Like, I'm just can't imagine what, but she looks so familiar though.
She must look like someone. She must look like somebody famous.
Yeah,
more famous than her. But yeah, I know I had the same thing. Mental health check. I'm not a psychologist. This segment is based purely on my own opinions. A weekly reminder that if you are struggling with anything else at all, please reach out for help. This week, honestly, I felt pretty good. Like, they're all relative at this point because, like, Dean's been dying this whole season. But, like, they're appropriately sad that Dean's dying without Dean trying really hard to get himself killed faster or celebrating the fact. Like, there's a push to celebrate Christmas, but it didn't feel like a push to celebrate the fact that Dean's gonna die. So much as, like, an acknowledgement of, like, Dean's dying and I want a good holiday memory for us both to have when that time comes. Like, it felt quiet and soft and not the same vibe as some of the other incidents we've had with Dean and dying this season.
It's a normal person thing to do. I'm proud of them.
Y'all acted like people and not weirdo psychos.
Good job. You're doing good.
Also, just like, Sam's just like, next Christmas you're gonna be dead, and that's just very sad.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him, but I don't feel like, you know, anybody's like overly suicidal this week, so improvement, I guess. Relative improvement. We're in such a dark timeline. The soul transactions, we had none. Sam's traumatic brain injury narrowly escaped being knocked out, but we're good. We're in the clear.
Very proud
we're
of
on
him.
a good long streak. We haven't been knocked out since like episode 3. So yeah, we're doing really good.
Until we don't.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen.
Until you're gonna have it every single episode, like 10 in a row.
Yeah.
Until we get to the era of Supernatural where it's just like, can we just get Sam out of the way so we can focus on Dean?
Yeah, that's when I thought Sam got knocked out in this episode, was because he got like thrown and then fell down a wall, and I was like, any other like late season Supernatural episode, like that would be an unconscious moment. Like he would be unconscious. But it's fine. Yeah, imagine like Sam is like, no, I don't want to call Sam the smart one because that implies Dean isn't smart, and Dean is very smart. But like Sam is like very smart a lot of the time, and he's very smart in a very like cunning way. And just like imagine if he hadn't been knocked out so many times.
Imagine how many brain cells you would have left.
Imagine how much less of a dumbass they would like be if Sam had just been knocked out less times.
Yeah. If Sam could stay awake and Dean would stop drinking, they would have so many more brain cells between them.
So many more. Oh god, it's the drinking.
Don't do hunting, kids. It gives you alcoholism and concussions.
Hunting comes with so many isms, I imagine.
I think it makes it worse that Sam lives to an old age, because Sam's definitely going to end up with that concussion thing that you get, like, that football players get. Like, there's no way Sam Winchester doesn't get that when he hits, like, his, like, 50s.
That's why?
Like, yeah. Like, it's just not good. It's bad for your brain to get that many concussions. Let's move on. Let's move on and name the episode. Anyone have any name suggestions for this episode?
The one with the fingernail.
Oh.
That disappointed L.
The problem is that there's another Christmas episode where Sam gets his fingernail ripped out.
The first one with the fingernail.
Nailed it.
I love it.
The one where we nail it.
Yeah, I vote for nailing it.
I think the one where it seems less Christmas. Honestly, I think I was just trying to avoid the fingernail, but that really is the defining, I think, trait.
You can't ignore the fingernail. It's coming for you.
You absolutely cannot. Yeah.
To finish off this week's episode, let's do line of the week, and let's start with Jordan.
Probably all of the fudging. Like, if you don't let me out of here, I'm gonna fudge and kill you. I love that. It's hilarious.
Yes, that was pretty good. I do like when they address the fact that they can't swear in a way that makes sense. I also like that they're like, because usually they can get around it by like just not using super big swear words, but this was clearly like a scene where Dean needed to drop like an F-bomb or two and just like really need to say the word fuck and like couldn't, and so they're like, okay, we're just gonna introduce this fudge thing and it'll be funny and like it'll imply the fact that we want to say fuck. Meredith, how about you?
I had the same one. Audrey and I had a whole conversation about like that line last night, and I had to make it my line of the week because it's so funny.
Jeremy, do you have a line of the week?
The I'm just here to watch line, I think, is really.
Are you, sir?
It's just the moment where like both the elf chick as well as Dean looks at him and he's like, no, wait. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, okay.
I had two, and none of them were those. My first one was like where like little like baby Sam goes, "It's a pony."
It's a pony.
It's clearly something small. And my other one is when Dean has the pliers in his mouth and the doorbell rings, and he's like, "Is somebody gonna get that?"
That one's good too. Yeah,
that was awesome.
Excellent. Honestly, in terms of lines of the week, this episode had so many choices.
This episode is a treasure.
Jeremy Carver delivers. He's a good writer.
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
That's it for this week. Meredith, where can people find you?
Not at the Kerrigan's house, because I'll be at Instagram, Tumblr, and TikTok as Shades of Day and Era, where you can find lots of cool drawings for the fantasy novel I'm writing.
Jordan, is there anywhere that people can find you?
You can read my fanfiction at fanfiction.net, Psychic Chick 21.
Excellent.
Yes, I've heard about the fanfiction. There's angst.
There's angst.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, where can people find you?
I'm still on Twitter, even though it's burning down literally as we speak.
It's burning down around us. We're
on.
waiting to see how that goes.
The best place is probably monsteroftheweek.cool, which is the website for our podcast, where we talk about Supernatural, and we're currently covering the Winchesters. And that has links to all of our other various media socials, such as Tumblr and TikToks and Instagrams and everything. So
when Twitter finishes burning to the ground and there's nothing left, will you be moving primarily to Tumblr, do you think?
I used to do the Tumblr thing like way back in the day, and I don't know that I'm ready. It feels like going backwards in a lot of different ways. So I'm hoping somebody comes around and is like, "Oh, hey, here's where all of your friends are going, and we could go be over there somewhere new." But I have no idea.
All my friends are going to Tumblr.
Are they really?
We seem to all be going back to Tumblr, and like I missed the majority of the Tumblr era my first time around.
I'm watching it happen in real time because I never really left Tumblr after making my account.
Yeah, the influx of us all coming back is because Twitter's burning down.
Where does that bring you? Back to me.
I didn't have good internet until 2015, so by then Tumblr had really kind of like crested the peak of the Tumblr era. Things were on the decline.
I ran a very weird video game Tumblr for a long time, and I think that just has completely altered my perspective on what Tumblr could be. So
fair enough.
Oh man, Tumblr is a magical place. It's got
really
dark
is.
magic and light magic and
everything in between.
rainbow magic.
And what are we doing next week? Next week we are having a discussion episode, so we are taking a break from our recap episodes, and we are doing a discussion on Supernatural versus Bones. We are going to be comparing those two shows, and we should hopefully we'll be doing that with Moira and Mary from Caring Wayward. So good times. Hopefully that all went as planned and was excellent, as I'm imagining it will be. Had a vision for that one for a while, but yeah, that's what we're doing next week.
I've been KJ, and this has been Supernatural Opinions. If you enjoyed our show, the best thing you can do is subscribe on your podcast app of choice and tell a friend. Check out our link tree in the episode description for all of our social media and any other Supernatural-related projects we might be working on. Send us an email. Our address is supernaturalopinionspodcast@gmail.com, or reach out directly at KJ, @EditingKJ on all platforms. Thank you to Joe Veretta for our theme song, and our logo was created by Faith Ebert of faithanddesigns.ca. The episode was recorded, edited, and produced by me, Editing KJ. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out my other podcast, Series of Opinions. And last but not least, a huge thank you to all of our guests.
Some things in this world are supernatural. What we need is a savior.